Hello, it has been a busy month here at Tabletop RPG Music, so let's round up everything that happened in March, including all the bonus content and everything else. Okay, so first things first, I asked for an idea for a monthly theme from all of my top tier supporters. I then took all those ideas and popped them on a poll for the rest of the Patreon folks to vote on, and the winner was City Themes, suggested by Ace Kokoran. So thank you for that awesome suggestion, and it led to some interesting tracks. First track out this month was The Hero's Return. This was a big exciting theme for a city, with some kind of tavern-style instruments layered beneath as well. My top tier supporters get two alternate versions of this track. We have a tavern version, and a tavern version without percussion for when the drummer gets tired and has to go to bed. Next up we have War of Rebirth. This one kind of goes away from the monthly theme for a moment, but it came about through a really interesting track suggestion from the Grinner Gamer. And the suggestion was for some Hindustani slash Karnataka, I might be mispronouncing that, but it's kind of North Indian style music, for a kind of combat theme. So a combat theme with some North Indian inspiration, and this was the result, and I'm really happy with how this one turned out. It was a lot of fun. There are two alternate versions of this track. There is a version with no percussion, and there is a more ambient version which strips out all the percussion and the rhythmic bass and all the other rhythmic elements to make a much more atmospheric ambient feel. This month I also released a 1-hour compilation of atmospheric and relaxing fantasy music. This contains a bunch of tracks from my Tabletop RPG music series, a couple of little bonus ones from before I started my Tabletop RPG music series that kind of fit with the theme. And if you just want to stick something on for an hour and have it play, this is a really good solution for that. The next track probably slightly stretches the city theme, monthly theme, but it is a track called Toy Town. This came about after several requests from my top tier supporters for some more comedic tracks. And this one would be perfect for those moments where your party's getting up to all kinds of crazy shenanigans. Bard tier supporters get three alternate versions of this track. There is a faster version, which is kind of useful for chase scenes with a kind of quirky vibe. There is a version which is just using strings. This kind of dials down the quirkiness a little bit for a more uniform sound. And there is a version with just the strings, which is also faster, so you get the best of both worlds. Next up we have Fire Temple. This one is a collaboration with Tom Cartos, who is an awesome map maker who I'm sure many of you have heard of. He is creating currently a bunch of different maps for a fantasy city, and one of those maps is this Fire Temple map, which he kindly agreed to share with my Patreon supporters. So anyone who supports me on Patreon gets the high-res version of this map, including multiple levels, gridded and gridless versions, day and night versions, versions formatted for use in virtual tabletops, and a lore document and GM key. So a really healthy offering for all of my Patreon supporters, so thank you so much, Tom, and you can find Tom's stuff at patreon.com/Tom Cartos. This Fire Temple track has 3 alternate versions for Bard tier supporters. There is a version with no drums for a more ambient feel. There is a fully ambient track in which I've taken out all the melody instruments as well for just a kind of soundscape vibe. And there is a double speed version for a much more intense feel. Next up we have City Intrigue. This one is another collaboration, and this collaboration was a quite large one organised by the Eldritch Press. The Eldritch Press creates really awesome content for 5th edition, such as adventures, monsters, that sort of thing. And this collaboration is a whole 5e side quest adventure, which is available to my Patreon supporters. It includes content from the Eldritch Press, Reclusive Cartographer, DM Nine Toes, Dungeoneering Guild, Jan Loose Online Tabletop, and of course, music from me. I'd encourage you to check out all of those creators, and in particular keep your eyes open for a new Kickstarter that will be coming in a month or two from the Eldritch Press, the Maps and Monstrum Compendium, which might have some more music of mine featured as either part of the product or maybe as a stretch goal. The track itself is kind of a noir feel, investigation vibe kind of track, and there are 2 alternate versions of this track for my top tier supporters. There is a version with no percussion, and there is a very different version, a cosmic version, which is much more echoey, otherworldly, and really changes the tone. And last but not least, we have Beneath the Spires, a sad theme for the kind of downtrodden parts of a city. And this one is another collaboration, this time with Critical Crafting, who create really awesome 5e compatible content. And in this case, they have very kindly shared an entire 5e adventure with my Patreon supporters, Her Heart Beats for You, a 5e supplement for heroes, villains, and more. I've had a read through and it is very interesting, lots of sneaky city stuff that goes on in there with some demonic influences too. 3 alternate versions for my top tier supporters to choose from for this track. We have a no guitar version, which strips out the guitar, makes the track a bit more backgroundy. We have an ambient version. And for something really different, we have a sci-fi ambient version, which almost sounds like an entirely different track to me, so if you're a top tier supporter, you can download all of these different variant versions on the download archive. A quick note for what's coming up in April. I've decided not to go with a specific monthly theme this month, beyond just the idea of doing a bit of everything. When I asked for monthly theme suggestions from my top tier supporters, I got so many really great suggestions that I thought, instead of sticking with one monthly theme, I'm going to write a bunch of different tracks, each one based on one of the different suggestions. So thank you so much to everyone who sent those suggestions in, and I hope I can cover as many of your suggestions as possible. Just to talk more personally for a moment, this has been a really fantastic month for me with how much support you guys have given me on Patreon and Spotify and other places. I've noticed a big upsurge in the support, and that really means a lot to me, and it means that I can dedicate even more time to this tabletop RPG music project. So thank you so much to everyone who supports me on Patreon. Thank you to those folks who listen to me on Spotify and who buy my music on Bandcamp and wherever else. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy what is to come in April. Okay, thank you, bye!